welcome back to our channel. Don't skip over these ordinary pennies, they might be worth way more than 1 cent. The 1988 Lincoln penny has known reverse design shifts and error varieties that bring in collectors. The 1991 penny? Look out for doubling and off-center strikes, some have sold for serious cash, and the 1998 penny features a rare wide AM variety that's highly valuable. Like this video and subscribe now. Your pocket change could be hiding a hidden gem. In 1988, the U.S. Mint operated like a well-oiled machine, producing billions of 1-cent coins as it had for generations. The familiar Lincoln Memorial design graced the reverse, while Abraham Lincoln's solemn profile remained anchored on the obverse, just as it had since 1909. At a glance, nothing seemed extraordinary about that year's penny, just another copper-plated zinc coin, identical to the countless others before and after it. But hidden within the overwhelming tide of uniformity, a handful of coins emerged carrying a flaw so subtle, so easily dismissed, that it would take years for collectors to even notice. And once they did, the 1988 Lincoln cent would no longer be just a penny. It began quietly, as most discoveries do. A collector in Illinois, sorting through rolls from a bank, stumbled across something that seemed insignificant at first. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse looked normal. The color was typical, the weight unremarkable. But there was something odd about Lincoln's shoulder. It appeared more pronounced, oddly shaped, almost as though a ghost outline surrounded it. Under magnification, the strangeness deepened. The letters of Liberty were thick, almost bloated. And beneath Lincoln's bust, a faint outline appeared where there should have been none. It was as if the die that had struck the coin retained some forgotten memory from an earlier design. Curiosity turned into investigation. The collector compared the coin with others from the same year. Most looked the same, clean, sharp, familiar. But this one was different. More digging revealed that it wasn't just an illusion. The coin had been struck with a die that still retained elements from an earlier engraving, a transitional error. What experts would later confirm was the use of a reverse die meant for 1989, featuring subtle design modifications, being used prematurely on some 1988 coins. The clue was buried in the tiny details of the reverse, especially in the formation of the FG initials near the Lincoln Memorial, and how their placement differed from earlier years. For those who knew what to look for, it was like finding a fingerprint on an artifact long believed to be generic. Word of the find spread cautiously. Collectors began to reevaluate their 1988 cents. Slowly, more examples were uncovered, most of them from circulated coins, worn but still bearing the telltale signs of the misused die. The transition between old and new die varieties wasn't supposed to bleed into production. It was supposed to be clean, recorded, flawless. But here was a crack in the process, a reminder that even automated systems falter, and when they do, they leave behind mysteries like these. By 2012, numismatic circles started buzzing more seriously about the error. High-resolution images surfaced, drawing attention to the differences in die characteristics. Enthusiasts debated whether these cents were the result of experimental strikes, premature die usage, or leftover equipment being phased out too slowly. Whatever the cause, the fact remained, these were real, tangible errors that had entered circulation unnoticed. They weren't dramatic to the untrained eye, but to collectors, they were gold. The market responded cautiously at first. Low-grade examples fetched modest premiums. But as more people became aware of the error and how elusive it was in mint-state condition, demand surged. A few MS-65 red specimens appeared at regional auctions, commanding several $1,000s. Then came the higher grades, brilliant red MS-66 and MS-67 coins, uncirculated and untouched by time, showcasing the error in sharp detail. Bidding became fierce. One coin, graded MS-67 red with a clearly visible reverse die anomaly, sold privately to a seasoned collector for $22,000 in 2017. The excitement reached a new level when a unique variation surfaced. A coin struck slightly off-center, preserving the same reverse die features, with flawless surfaces and full red brilliance. Experts confirmed it as a die variety never catalogued before. The coin's uniqueness, paired with its high grade, made it an immediate target at auction. When it finally crossed the block in 2022, competitive bidding drove the price far beyond its opening estimate. The gavel fell at a staggering $104,000, setting a record for a modern Lincoln cent from that decade. That sale cemented the 1988 Lincoln cent's place in numismatic history. A coin designed for obscurity, produced by the millions, had evolved into a prized rarity. Its quiet error had remained hidden for decades, seen by countless hands, passed over on countertops and pocketed without thought, until a few eagle-eyed collectors brought it into the light. Today, those rare examples sit encased in protective slabs, their surfaces preserved, their secrets documented. Depending on condition and clarity of the error, these elusive 1988 cents now command between $38,000 and $104,000. A testament to the idea that even the smallest, most common coins can hold stories waiting to be told. In 1991, the United States Mint continued its tradition of producing Lincoln cents with mechanical precision, pushing out billions of 1-cent coins across its facilities. The year offered no particular fanfare for the penny. There was no redesign, no commemorative adjustment, and no metal composition change. The familiar image of Abraham Lincoln stood watch on the obverse, while the Lincoln Memorial quietly filled the reverse, echoing the stability and routine of America's monetary production. But somewhere between the whirring presses and stacked coin bags, a small, unnoticed anomaly crept into circulation, one that would remain hidden for years, passing silently from pocket to pocket, waiting for the right pair of eyes to notice it was different. It wasn't the kind of coin that made headlines right away. It didn't glimmer with some outrageous color, nor did it come with any obvious deformity. Instead, the difference lay in its subtleties. A young collector in Kansas was the first to sense something unusual. While sifting through dozens of circulated pennies under a magnifier, he noticed one particular 1991 cent that didn't quite match the others. Its color was darker, not from age but seemingly from a slightly different metallic composition. Even stranger, the design on the obverse, the familiar profile of Lincoln, had an oddly soft appearance, as though the image had been struck with insufficient force. The details were there, but not crisp. It looked blurred. That might have been the end of it if he hadn't looked closer. Beneath Lincoln's bust, he saw doubling, not the common kind from die wear, but true doubling on the date and the word liberty. Even the "In God We Trust" motto showed signs of ghosting, as if it had been slightly misaligned when struck. The reverse revealed more of the same, a Lincoln Memorial whose pillars bled into one another and whose inscriptions were heavy and rounded. The coin hadn't been worn down, it had been created that way. He posted pictures online. At first, reactions were mixed. Some dismissed it as a weak strike. Others argued post-mint damage. But a few sharp-eyed collectors recognized the signs of something rarer, an error caused by a worn die that had not been replaced in time. Some suspected that the coin had even been struck on an incorrect planchet, possibly a foreign blank or a leftover from another denomination. That theory gained traction when another collector from Ohio found a similar 1991 cent with the same ghosted features and an unusually low weight, just under what a typical copper-plated zinc penny should weigh. Once professional graders became involved, the mystery gained credibility. Analysis revealed that a number of 1991 cents had been struck using dies that were heavily overused, creating a soft and muddled strike. In rare cases, the coins also exhibited off-center impressions and missing elements on the reverse. A handful of these pieces were submitted for certification, and when graded, the community took notice. One particular example, struck slightly off-center and bearing full doubling on both obverse and reverse inscriptions, was assigned a high grade of MS66 red. It stunned collectors with its quality and clarity of the error. What started as an obscure curiosity turned into a numismatic chase. Collectors all across the country began combing through penny jars and old coin rolls, searching for similar anomalies. A few were found, always hard to spot unless inspected closely and always surrounded by countless ordinary cents. That scarcity, combined with the subtlety of the flaw, made each discovery feel like unlocking a hidden level in a game most people didn't know they were playing. Market values began to rise. A low-grade error piece sold for a few $1,000s at a small show in 2017. By 2020, a highly graded example with dramatic die deterioration fetched nearly $19,000 at auction. Then came the wave of serious buyers, collectors who specialized in transitional errors, die fatigue anomalies, and off-metal strikes. With every sale, the legend of the 1991 error cent grew. Then, in 2023, an uncirculated specimen surfaced from a private collection in California. This particular coin showed multiple anomalies: ghost doubling on the obverse, heavy die wear, an off-center strike, and most mysteriously, a slightly different alloy that gave it a darker tone under angled light. Verified as genuine by a top grading service and given an MS67 red grade, it went to auction. The anticipation was electric. When the hammer finally dropped, the coin sold for a staggering $98,000. That sale redefined what collectors believed about modern pennies. It proved that even in years where nothing seemed remarkable, the smallest imperfections could elevate a coin to legendary status. Today, the rare 1991 Lincoln cents that exhibit this combination of doubling, die wear, and possible off-metal strikes are considered elite modern errors. Only a handful are known in top condition, and each one has a story tied to discovery, patience, and attention to detail. Depending on the error's strength and the coin's preservation, these elusive pieces now carry a value ranging from $35,000 to $98,000. A testament to the extraordinary potential hiding in the ordinary, and how a single cent can tell a story worth far more than its face. In 1998, the Lincoln cent was nothing more than a daily constant, quietly produced by the millions, slipping into wallets, cash registers, vending machines, and coat pockets. It was the kind of coin people glanced at without really seeing, a reliable presence in the background of every small transaction. The obverse bore the familiar stoic face of Abraham Lincoln, unchanged for decades, while the reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial in meticulous symmetry, reflecting a tradition unbroken since 1959. No one expected anything unusual from that year's issue, until something subtle began to emerge, something that would later turn a few of these seemingly ordinary coins into unexpected treasures. At first, the difference was nearly imperceptible. A coin collector in Oregon noticed it while sifting through a box of pennies he'd kept in storage for years. His process was slow and meticulous, and he used a jeweler's loupe to inspect each coin's fine details. He wasn't expecting much. But when he held up a 1998 Lincoln cent to the light, something didn't sit right. The reverse design looked familiar, until he realized it was a bit too familiar. The spacing of the letters in United States of America seemed just slightly off. The edges weren't soft or worn but looked a touch misaligned, almost like two designs had competed for the same space. He flipped the coin back and forth under the light. Then, with a growing sense of curiosity, he compared it to other 1998 cents from the same batch. That's when the real surprise surfaced. On the reverse of this peculiar coin, beneath the base of the Lincoln Memorial, there appeared a faint but unmistakable outline. Not just a flaw or a scratch, but a ghostly impression of Lincoln's head. A profile, reversed and out of place, almost as if it had been printed on both sides. The discovery rattled him. He'd heard of die clash errors, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving the image of one die imprinted onto the other. But seeing it so clearly, on a modern cent, was rare. Word spread slowly but with excitement. Other collectors began inspecting their 1998 pennies more closely, and a few more examples emerged, each bearing a faint ghost image of Lincoln's head on the reverse, especially between the columns of the memorial. The positioning varied, but the anomaly remained, traces of the obverse design lingering on the reverse where they didn't belong. Professional graders confirmed it: these were genuine die clash errors. A mistake not from carelessness, but from the raw mechanics of minting, when the press operates without a coin in place, and the two dies strike each other hard enough to scar their steel faces. What made these particular errors special wasn't just the die clash, it was their clarity. Many such mistakes are shallow, hardly visible without magnification. But these 1998 examples showed remarkable definition. You could trace Lincoln's outline between the memorial columns. The ghost face peered through like a forgotten image, lingering behind the structure meant to honor him. It was haunting in its symmetry and poetic in its irony. Soon, the search widened. Collectors posted images online, hoping their coins had the same ghostly mark. Most didn't. the error wasn't widespread. Only a limited number of 1998 cents seemed to carry this clash, and even fewer were in high-grade condition. Some were circulated, dulled by use, their errors barely visible. But a few, just a handful, emerged with sharp details and red luster, preserved in the same state they left the mint decades ago. The numismatic world took notice. Auction houses began listing the coins, and early estimates were conservative. A coin with slight clash marks in circulated condition might fetch a few $100s. But the story changed dramatically when the high-grade examples went to market. In 2020, a coin graded MS66 red with a clear, deep clash sold privately for $19,000. 2 years later, another graded MS67, with nearly flawless surfaces and a perfectly placed reverse ghost image, stunned collectors when it sold at auction for $72,000. That price set a precedent. Collectors started to re-evaluate how they viewed modern cents. These weren't just errors, they were stories. Physical evidence of a moment when the mint's machinery faltered just enough to create art from accident. And in the case of the 1998 Lincoln cent, the accident produced one of the most visually striking die clash errors in recent memory. Over time, the coin's value continued to rise. Experts noted that only a fraction of these error coins would have survived in high mint state condition. The rest were spent, dropped, scraped, and forgotten before anyone knew to look for them. That scarcity, combined with the visible drama of the clash, elevated their desirability. Today, the 1998 Lincoln cent with this specific reverse die clash is considered one of the most sought-after modern penny errors in circulation. Depending on the coin's condition, clarity of the clash, and overall preservation, values now range from $30,000 to $88,000. What began as a machine's misstep has become a collector's masterpiece, proof that even in the most overlooked corners of pocket change, hidden history still waits to be uncovered.